Great. Thank you, everyone. My name is Dr. Roberta Suzette Hunt, and I am the facilitator for, excuse me, for the Equity Advisory Group. Thank you for coming to our December meeting. Let's have the slides. Thank you. Thank you. Will you put it as present in present mode? Great. So next slide. So closed captions are in English and Spanish. Excuse me. English closed captions are available within Zoom and YouTube. Users can follow this link to view both English and Spanish captions in a separate browser window. Go to ibr.news/captions. Next slide. So reminders, we encourage EAG members to turn on your video. Please say your name when you begin to speak. If you experience technical difficulties, please contact program staff at 360-329-6744. Next slide. Public input instructions. There will be an opportunity to provide brief public input later in the meeting today. To submit input after the meeting, email comments to info@interstatebridge.org with EAG Public Comment in the subject line. Call 888-503-6735 and state EAG Public Comment in your message. Next slide. For our agenda today, we'll start with an icebreaker, program administrator update, go into program history overview, and an equity and climate frameworks overview, a visioning exercise as we're going into 2024, public comment, and close. And we finish today at 7. Next slide. So the icebreaker is your name and pronouns, your affiliation. Share a brief personal or professional win from the past month that brought you joy or a sense of accomplishment. It could be big or small, and we'd love to celebrate with you. So please share something that is a joy or an accomplishment from this past month. So, Vicki, you are great at kicking us off. So I just think off we go.
Well, what I'd like to share is some of you know that I like to be a connector. You know, I read a lot of emails and follow events and organizations. And so if there's something that I think you're interested in, or something I know about you that's coming up, I might share with you. I mean, it doesn't have to be work related. It could be that Greg's from Detroit, and if people are going to Detroit for an event, I might share it with Greg just so he's aware. Not that I think he's interested, but he's going to hear from me anyway. I did let someone who is working, she runs an organization that I love called People of Color Outdoors, Pamela Slaughter, and she's on my email list. And I love what they do to promote people of color enjoying the outdoors in Oregon, which today wouldn't be a lot of fun when it's raining and cold, but they'd go anyway. So just so you know. Anyway, a few months back, I told her about an Adidas program that they were sharing, that they would pick 8 organizations from communities of color that promote outdoor recreation. And she responded right away to the email I sent her And this past week and a half, she was she received a $75,000 grant and a year mentorship with Adidas to promote her work. And that was a thrill to me, that she got it, but that she's done excellent work for several years, never got paid, never had any funding to speak of other than small membership fees that she collects. So that was a thrill, and I was very happy that I could be part of that. Thanks, Meg.
Great, thank you. I got kicked off, now I'm back. So, Vicki, you finished?
Yes.
And so who's up next? Thank you.
This is Tanya. I'll go next. She, her, IBR. It's a little over a month, but I had a total knee replacement and doing quite well. So that's my major accomplishment for the year, actually. So I want to be more mobile and more active, so I can ride against Greg. So I'm gonna pass it over to Lucy.
Thank you and hello. So my name is Lucy Hamer. I use she and her pronouns. I'm with the IBR program, specifically the equity team, all things civil rights. And as far as a personal accomplishment, I would say for about the past month, my wife and I have had a social engagement almost every weekend, which for us is a big deal. We just moved to the West Coast at the end of July from Atlanta. And so it's starting to feel like the roots are taking ground, and it's a nice feeling.
That's great.
And let's see, I will turn it over to Sabrina.
I was trying to get an answer ready, but we'll see what comes out of my mouth. I'm Sabrina Owens Wilson. I use she, her pronouns. I'm with Metro. And I don't know, my kids are back in school and they went to all their activities and we're making it to the end of the year. That's my win.
That's huge, Sabrina.
I know.
Big deal.
Yes, and we have had no one stayed home sick since the strike ended. So it's small things. I'll pass it to you, John.
John Gardner, TriMet, he, him. One thing in the last 30 days is I've been working all summer to get my 16-year-old daughter ready for driving. And so she just passed her learner's permit. So that's pretty exciting and scary at the same time. So progress, not perfection. She's still very much a TriMet rider. So it's all good. We got another 6 to 12 months. So.
Good job.
And I will throw it at John L. Bell.
Good afternoon or evening, everyone. John L. Bell, he, him, Principal Equity Officer for IBR. I would say one thing that I have been working towards and have so far kept up is jogging about 3 or 4 times a week. I start my mornings off most mornings jogging the waterfront. Rain or shine, it's been more rain than shine lately. I'm out there and it just is a big sort of a nice mindful way to start the day. So that's been a really great thing this past year. And I will turn it over to Greg.
Well, thank you. I'm Greg Johnson, Program Administrator. And John L., your jogging is showing, my friend. You look in great shape. So, and this is more of a program accomplishment. The interns that we had for the year, I think our last one is is just now leaving us. And she was a young lady who was originally from Vietnam. And she did such a great job of presenting and integrating herself into the team. So we try to bring on interns to the program and expose them to professionals. We're going to have an even bigger program next year with interns. So that was a good program accomplishment of having those interns and learning about transportation up front and in person. So I will go to Erica.
Hi, everyone. I'm Erica McAlpin, and I will say that one thing that happened for me this month is I started with Espousal Strategies. I am the new Senior Director for Equity, People, and Culture. So very excited to be with Espousal. And I will share two things. My son, my freshman, my baby boy, made it home from his first semester at college last night. So I am thrilled that he is here and home for Christmas from the University of Alabama, my alma mater, Roll Tide. Just for you,
Go
Greg.
Blue. Go Blue.
I was waiting for that to happen.
Why don't we go to Yamaya?
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Demaya Humphreys, she, her pronouns, part of the equity team doing workforce, great workforce equity. One for those sports lovers, one great thing that I was very happy is that the Huskies won the Pac-12. I'm a Husky, so that was huge. Love that game. Sad because there won't be any more Pac-12, but won the championship undefeated. And another one is that I'm 3 months in Portland, Oregon. And since I moved, I'm very happy to be in this area, very close to the bridge. I see it every day. So very excited to be part of this team and the work we're doing. Thank you. I'll pass it on to Meg.
Hi, everyone. My name is Meg Johnson. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a private citizen. I live in Clark County on the east side, but I commute downtown every day for work during the week. So the bridge is something I see every day, and I think about it constantly. So it's a good thing. I'll do a personal victory. I'm in the process of rewilding my yard and getting a NatureScape certification for my backyard. And I've got a brand new section that got planted out a couple weeks ago and nothing has died. So I'm very happy. It's got 10 native plants to this region of the world. And it's very fun to see. It's right outside of my bedroom window. So I wake up every day and I go, okay, is everything okay out there? Yes, it's going to be great. So that's a good personal win for me. Let's pass it to Brenda.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brenda Saragusa, and I'm on the equity team, and I'm here to support what wants to happen. Just support the team today, and Mr. Johnson, I look forward to supporting the ever-growing internship program too. So there'll be a lot of great opportunity there. Personal win is I got back in the pool. I used to, work out a lot and swim a lot. And for the past 2 months, really, other than the cold I've had the past 2 weeks, I have not gone. But it just feels so good. And now I say that, I keep saying it out loud because now I have accountability to keep it up and I want to keep it up. I have 1,000 excuses before I go, but it's so good when I'm done. So half a mile a couple of times a week. And it's been fabulous. And with that, I will, let's see, pass it to Shane. Shane, have you gone yet? Okay.
Nope. Yeah. Shane Valley, he, him. I'm with the city of Portland. I'm a pretty musical person outside of my professional life, working for the city of Portland. And I'm with the Portland Wind Symphony. We had a pretty fun Christmas concert earlier this month where we played side by side with the Gresham High School band. It was just really cool to play with young musicians and play for their folks, and just a really spirited concert. That was quite a bit of fun. Also, Yamaya, I'm also a Husky, and so I was very, very happy with the result. My girlfriend is a Duck, so I've been getting a lot of mileage out of that victory. So let's see.
So Shane, what instrument do you play?
Saxophone.
Ah, excellent.
Let's see, who hasn't gone yet?
Barbie.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Barbie Alexander. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Shared Prosperity Program Analyst at the Port of Portland. And I sent a link to the administrator, perhaps they can share with the group. This is our first public publication of a 5-year retrospective of the equity work the port has been working on. And so that was just a really big joy moment, being able to look at the progression and the journey we've been on and really call out publicly the data that we've been tracking. So that for me was a huge joy moment. So I sent the link to the administrator, so hopefully the administrator can share the link and everyone can check out the 40 glossy pages.
Fantastic. Good work. Good work. Eric.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Eric Tring. I'm using he, him pronoun. I'm with the equity team, supporting and leading the work of Community Benefit Advisory Group. Something to look back in the last month was that I also started as a spousal 4 months ago. And so this marked 4 months. I was trained to be an urban planner and was focused on a lot on economic development. But now that I found a new discovery that this infrastructure development is just a huge interest to me, and I'm looking for opportunity to contribute to the program in the long term. And I think one way to be here and support the advisory group. Thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you.
And I think I haven't seen Fabian.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Fabian, and I use him as pronouns. Something that I'm looking forward to is going to the gym more often. I've gone 3 times now, but it's been in the last 3 weeks. And so I'm trying to do at least twice a week now. And yeah, I'm part of the community engagement team with the IBR, and also do a lot of coordination with the community advisory group, and here to support with breakout sessions that we'll have later today. And I'll pass it back to you, Dr. Hunt.
Thank you. Aiden.
Good evening, everyone. Aiden Grodauer, they, them, or he, him pronouns. Let's see, I'm with the IBR team, Civil Rights and Equity Manager. On a personal win, I haven't taken a vacation in a few years now, so I finally last month booked a vacation. So that's a personal win for me.
Good job. Good job.
And has Emily gone?
Emily has not, and Xander has not.
Yeah, hi everyone. Emily Thomas Peralta on the IBR equity team. You know, I wish I could say I have a great sports one, but my Nebraska Cornhuskers did not make a bowl game this year, so I can't count that. But you know, I have been wanting to get back into reading. It's something that I really enjoyed when I was younger, but with having to read so much in grad school and then at work after that, it made it tough to, like, I didn't enjoy it the same way that I used to. So I've been doing audiobooks, and I do that while I'm cleaning, and that helps with like the mindless part of cleaning, right? But it's helped me get through quite a bit. So I think I've gone through maybe like 10 books this year, and that's way more than what I had done before. So that feels like a win.
Absolutely. Xander.
Hello, everybody. My name is Xander Arnold, he, him pronouns, and I support public meetings for the IBR program. And I don't know if this is an accomplishment, but I'm very proud and happy with the amount of time I've been able to spend with my family this past month, which has been fantastic. So happy to see everyone tonight.
Yeah, it's a total accomplishment. Well done. Jennifer. So our prompt, your name, pronouns, and affiliation, and something that you're proud of or that brings you joy over the last month.
Let's see. So I'm Jennifer Campos. I'm a principal planner with RTC, she, her pronouns. And I don't know if anybody's said this yet, but I just a little bit ago finished getting all my Christmas presents. So I'm done for this year. So I'm excited about that, a little bit earlier than usual.
Fabulous. Fabulous. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. It's good to be with you. And let's pass to Greg Johnson for the program administrator update.
Okay, if we can bring up the slides and go to the next slide and the next slide. So the big news from the program, and most of you should have got an email from the program. We had an announcement on Friday morning that the IBR program received a federal mega grant in the amount of $600 million. So that is a huge step in moving this program forward. It demonstrates several things. Number one, it demonstrates the confidence that the U.S. DOT has in this region to pull together to get this thing done. And it also recognizes the unique things that we are doing. And this advisory group is one of those unique things. Having an equity advisory group, a community advisory group, a community benefits advisory group is unique in mega projects. So we are we're very proud of that award. Those things were highlighted in our mega grant application. So that's a huge win. We have another grant application in. It's called the Bridge Investment Program, or the BIP. And we're hoping to hear on that one probably mid-year, hopefully April, but it might go later. That's the big grant that we're looking for from the Federal Highway Administration. And so we're asking $1.5 billion for that grant application. So a lot of exciting things that's propelling the program forward. One of those things that put more wind at our back was we had a visit from Governor Inslee, governor of the state of Washington. And he came down and spent probably 20 minutes at the bridge site. It was raining furiously that day, but he spoke well of the team and the efforts that we are doing to make this a multimodal corridor, and how important this corridor is not only to the region, but also both states as well as the entire West Coast. So it was a great visit, and really brought enthusiasm from the team. So just this last Friday, we had our third bi-state legislative committee meeting in the past 3 months. So this is, once again, a tremendously important group that helps us move this program forward and gives us the political advice and clears hurdles in the political world for this program to move forward. So if you've watched our last 3 meetings, we have structured how we meet and how we talk to that committee, giving them a lot of space and time to ask questions and dig deeper into issues. But once again, it is going very well. We will meet with them again probably in April after both both legislatures get out of session next year. So we're also, let's go to the next slide. So we are also continuing to do community updates and presentations. So getting out to the neighborhood associations is one of our prime objectives, is making sure that folks who are going to feel the impact of this, such as the Arnada neighborhood, neighborhoods on both sides of the river, that we are going and meeting and talking to them and answering all their questions, especially in the lead up to the release of the draft supplemental environmental impact statement process. So we've talked to the city of Portland, their Bike and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. That committee, along with their matching committee on the Vancouver side, is going to be tremendously important in driving design and standards for what the connections and what the bicycle walking path across the river will look like. I did a presentation for the Metropolitan Mayors Consortium, and that's a number of mayors in Oregon surrounding the city of Portland. Great conversations. They recognize that this project is a regional project, a project of regional importance. So we had great conversations, and they asked great questions. We presented in front of C-Trans Citizen Advisory Committee. We did an urban design panel, and we've been talking to Vancouver City Council. We also did a presentation before the Washington Public Ports Association. In that meeting, they had their annual meeting in downtown Vancouver, and room full of folks who have a vested interest in how freight moves through this region. So that was a very good conversation with them. We also did a virtual public briefing. And so I would ask if you know folks who are not familiar with the program and you want to give them a briefing, you can see that virtual public briefing on our website and get people up to speed and make sure that they understand what this program is. We also have been engaging with our community-based organizations to do listening sessions. And once again, these are multilingual initiatives to make sure we are reaching into some of those communities that have traditionally been ignored by programs like this. So this is a key part of how the program is demonstrating equity and making sure we're reaching to all folks, regardless of language or different abilities. So our focus for 2024, which is another 13 days away. So we're going to be focused on getting this draft supplemental document out, and that will probably happen sometime in April. We will be focusing on continuing to engage the community and having folks like yourselves on this committee amplify our messages and help drive folks to us if they are interested in learning more. We're having office hours in our office to make sure that folks who want to do a deep dive can come in and meet with staff and make sure that they can ask any questions that they need to understand where we're at on the program. So we'll be doing more events. There will be public hearings around this, the draft supplemental document. So this is going to be a busy part of 2024. But another important thing that we're doing is looking at how we are going to deliver this project. with this grant award. That's a huge step. And so we've had a team looking at the size of construction packages, the delivery methods that we're going to employ, how those delivery methods and package sizes will impact DBE and small business participation. So a lot of great conversations coming on. As we gather more information, we will be making a presentation to this group and the other advisory groups about where we're at. So you guys will have a chance to weigh in on, package sizes, the methods that are being considered to deliver this major program. So with that, I'll take questions before we jump into the next part of the program. So any questions or concerns that I can answer for you? I am seeing none. So why don't we pull the slides back up and we'll go into the next session. So one of the first things, and most of you know, I've been out in the Pacific Northwest for a little over 3.5 years. But one of the first things, the conversation that John L. and myself had, John L. in his role as Principal Equity Officer, said you have to understand the history of this region to truly understand both the advocacy and the opposition to this project. So John L. has helped me do a deep dive into some of the issues around this area, learning about what happened when I-5 cut through the Albina community, learning about when the hospital bought out lots in the African-American community and destroyed other homes, but when the school board cited their facility in areas that were occupied by African-American homeowners, when the Moda Center and others took other bites out of the community. So understanding this history is tremendously important. But the first part of that history is the indigenous people who were here before recorded history and who used the Columbia River as a highway to connect, to provide sustenance for the tribal communities before Europeans came to this region of the world. So we are working with 10 federally recognized tribes, and we take their input and consult with them both in official government to government ways, but also we meet with both the Cowlitz and the Grand Ronde on a regular basis, because this project lies in ceded lands from both of those tribes and some unceded lands. So it's important to understand that history. So number 2 on this map is the Portland Assembly Center. And this was one of the darkest parts of American history, where we took citizens who were citizens of these United States during World War II, rounded them up and put them into camps because they felt that they could not be trusted, as we were in a war with Japan. And the interesting part is we did not round up German citizens. We did not round up Italian citizens, but we did round up Japanese Americans. And at the Expo Center is a monument to where folks were brought and then taken to other parts of the country, other camps, both in Washington and in Montana. So once again, a very integral part of the history of not only the nation, but more specifically this region. Number 3 on the list shows where the community of Vanport existed. And Vanport, for those who don't know, is where a number of African Americans first came during the Great Migration from the South to take jobs in the shipbuilding industry during World War II. And so there were not places in the city of Portland that welcomed African Americans. So most lived in the Vanport area. But there was a tremendous flood, and one of our community advisory group members, Ed Washington, was a child who lived in Vanport when that flood happened and has vivid memories. So I've promised Ed to take him out to lunch to learn more about his childhood and how that flood impacted this area. Once again, there's a lot of theories behind it, how the flood happened, but it is an integral part of understanding how inequitably people were treated and how we have to do better and learn from that history. And once again, this is the history of the United States has been one of as we learned in our history courses, manifest destiny. And when I was in school, that was a positive thing. That means, boy, we're gonna tame this wild country. But what that meant in reality is that we were displacing native peoples out of their native lands and territories. So Fort Vancouver on the Washington side of the river was one of the key launching areas for both protection for folks who came on the Oregon Trail to come and settle in this area, Europeans, and the issues of displacing native people and the diseases that were transmitted even before a lot of folks started coming west had a huge impact on the history of this region. So these are just a few of the things that set context for what we need to understand as we are building a piece of infrastructure in this area. We can't just come in and build something as if nothing in this region happened prior to this bridge being built in this area. So let's go to the next slide, please. So once again, the indigenous cultures and communities have been here since time immemorial. And there still is significant indigenous populations today. So the tribal governments, and they are governments, they are sovereign nations that that occupy these areas. The treaties and ceding of land through those treaties sometimes were done under the light of day. Sometimes they were undone under the light of day. So the military and the trading, the Hudson Bay Company has existed in this area and throughout Canada and the northern parts of the United States, and they were key to trading with tribal governments and making sure that when fur traders had a central market to trade their goods, and that led to more settlements coming to the west. Also, Vancouver Barracks, a part of now Fort Vancouver, was established in 1849, and that was once again a key linchpin of settlements and protection for European settlers who ventured west. So if you know the story of Chief Joseph and the Nez Perce tribe, the folks who pursued Chief Joseph came from Fort Vancouver and rode out of Fort Vancouver to pursue him into the Montana Territory and eventually close to the Canadian border. But as we moved into the 1900s, the railroads helped change and define what this area would look like. And as the railroad companies are famous for telling folks who are in the highway business, they were there before us. So we understand, and BNSF is a long-standing rail company in the United States. But after that, the first interstate bridge was built in 1917, second one in 1958. We started building dams on the Columbia River in the 40s all the way through the 60s. Now there is a movement to undo some of that due to the degradation of salmon populations. The Kaiser shipyards were a key motivator for a number of people relocating to this area, especially African Americans. The Vancouver Housing Authority is now 80 years old. And once again, if you understand the concept of redlining and the inability for people of color to get loans and being herded into areas where property values were degraded because you couldn't get loans to improve your housing stock. So the federal highway system, the interstate boom of construction took off in the mid 50s and extended all the way actually into the 90s when some of the last pieces of the interstate were completed. We're now in the realm of replacing large swaths of the interstate, and in some communities trying to undo the damage that was done by the interstate. So with the interstate came suburban expansion. So building freeways out into suburban areas that surrounded cities led to the phenomenon called white flight. As we became a more auto-oriented society, folks voted with their wheels, and they voted to sometimes abandon inner cities and move to out to the suburbs. Detroit is a great example of white flight. Detroit at one point was the city proper was bordering on 2 million people, projected to be 2.5 million people that would have rivaled Los Angeles and Chicago for one of the largest urban areas outside of New York. But you saw racial politics play out. You saw white flight and a number of things that happened. Detroit is now a city of less than 700,000, but everybody just didn't move out of the region. They moved out to the suburbs and the exurbs because of racial issues, and so it changed how this country developed. You also see now that there is a refocus on urbanization, on moving and infilling communities that were abandoned. So now you are seeing the phenomenon of gentrification. So folks who moved out 30 miles from the center city but still had to drive back to work, it became unbearable. So these folks are now moving back into cities and gentrifying neighborhoods. So Albina is a great example. When I came to town, I looked in Albina community for housing, and once again, I did not recognize that as a African American community. But tax policies and things of that nature have changed how this country has grown and developed. So now, once again, we are in that suburban back to urban transition. We are trying to build ways for folks to move and transportation systems that reflect that by creating transit lines to serve folks in urban settings, by creating biking and walking facilities where folks can choose alternate methods of traveling. So let's go to the next slide. And so once again, this corridor history started with indigenous people who lived and traveled throughout this region. And once again, occupied the area that is where the current interstate bridge currently sits. White settlements disrupted tribal communities. Even earlier than the 19th century, there were transmission of diseases that decimated native populations before there was a great migration of whites to this region. But this area still is a significant area to the indigenous communities today. And you will see in April, the indigenous communities are allowed to come and fish the Columbia River outside of others who are allowed to come in and fish later. So that is part of the treaty rights that tribal governments retain on the Columbia River. But once again, we are consulting and coordinating with 10 federally recognized tribal governments. And once again, government to government is the process established through federal and state law. So let's go to the next slide. And we've talked about the Assembly Center, and 120,000 people of Japanese ancestry living in the US along the Pacific coast were rounded up and evacuated to the temporary quarters at the Livestock Exposition where the current Expo Center sits. And it was renamed the North Portland Assembly Center. 2/3 of those individuals held at the Assembly Center were US citizens.
Greg,
Yes.
sorry for interrupting. I just see Emily's hand is raised.
Oh,
Yep.
go right
Apologies.
ahead.
Yes. Sorry, Administrator Johnson. I just wanted to give us a really quick time check because we got a shorter session today, so we want to make sure that we're able to get to our small groups. So I think we might need to move to the next section if that's okay. Apologies to interrupt here.
No problem. And the folks who know me know I am passionate about history. But the last bullet is probably one of the most important. The loss of over 400 million in property during their incarceration. So let's go to the next slide, please. And the Vanport flood, we've talked about over 18,000 families being displaced. 1/3 of those families were African American. It was one of the only integrated areas in the state of Oregon. The racial covenants that came after basically segregated the Black community from economic opportunity. So next slide, please. So once again, this is a map that shows the equity priority communities in the state of Washington. And this shows where the proportion of those equity priority communities are. The more vivid the color, that indicates more proportion of equity priority communities. So next slide, please. This is a map that once again identified redlining. And redlining just didn't happen in Portland. This was a phenomenon across the United States and was perpetuated by the Federal Housing Administration in urban areas around the country. And once again, it robbed minority communities of wealth. So next slide, please. And this is showing the initial construction of I-5 through the Albina community. This resulted in more than 450 homes and businesses being lost. And the story you hear was that these were blighted areas. These were not blighted areas. These were vibrant communities that were occupied by folks who weren't considered priority in the planning of the interstate. So once again, number of issues that eventually led to the destruction of more than 1,100 homes. Next slide, please. So with that, thank you for indulging me in one of my passions, but it's important to understand context as we are rebuilding the interstate, as we are trying to address past harms that were done in the name of progress. So with that, I will turn it over to Emily for equity and climate frameworks.
Thank you so much, Administrator Johnson. We definitely wanted to be intentional about grounding this conversation in the history and making sure that we had that framing before we entered into this discussion. So really appreciate you taking us through all of that. Yes, so we're also going to touch on just a couple of other foundational pieces that inform the way that we're thinking through community benefits. And so can you please go to the next slide? So of course, we are starting and grounding this in our equity framework. All of you are very familiar with this. You helped us in the development of the framework. So I'm going to move us quickly just so we can make sure we have enough discussion time. Next slide, please. We're also rooting these conversations the way we're thinking about what benefits could look like in the climate framework as well. And some of the key aspects of that are related to resilience and adaptation and different mitigations and things that we can be thinking about. And the climate framework is available on the website. So I'm going to move through this quickly too. Next slide, please. We also have the community values and priorities. These were created and informed by the community advisory group that runs somewhat parallel to EAG. Again, these are really helping to frame how we're thinking about these conversations and the way that we're approaching the development of benefits. Next slide, please. So we want to get to the main course here in our visioning exercise. So the questions that we're going to go through are, what is the future state of our communities in the program area when construction is complete? We want folks to think big right now. So what are your great ideas that you can bring to us? Also want to talk about what specific elements align with the guidance outlined in our values and priorities. So thinking through different pieces that are directly connected to the principles that we developed in the equity framework and some of these pieces in the climate framework as well. And then finally, what items address the guidance from, the equity and climate framework. So really thinking, how can we connect these foundational elements? How can we use them to inform what we envision big picture for the community once this project is complete? Some examples of that would be people with different incomes and identities are able to afford living in the neighborhood and feel safe walking, biking, and driving. Or there are no more heat domes in these neighborhoods. So we want to think of these kind of big picture pieces, aspirational goals and ideals. So for this, we are going to break into breakout groups. And the way it's going to work is we have assigned folks out. And so we will give everyone about 5 minutes or so to have your own individual reflection. And then we're going to talk about it all together in these smaller groups. And then after that discussion, we'll come back together in the big group and share our key takeaways. And with that, I believe we are going to be splitting off into our small groups. Each group will have a facilitator and they will help refresh you on the questions and take you through the exercise. Thank you.
All
We
right.
didn't hear Sabrina, but I encourage you to share Sabrina in the bigger group.
Okay. All right. So I think we are at the time, sorry, of our sharing. So would each group, would a representative from the different groups share two takeaways? And one specific aspect you'd like to see in EAG meetings for 2024. So two takeaways from your group's visioning and one aspect that you'd like to see in EAG meetings for 2024.
So I will jump in real quick as taking notes for our group. Our group said that ensure that there are diverse real estate staff that's helping when we do have to purchase property, make sure that we have folks of diverse backgrounds to assist in that whole process. We also said simplify code requirements or standards, have some flexibility and some exceptions to encourage affordable housing along the corridor. Work to change the image of the largest, whitest city in the US by creating diverse workforce opportunities associated with the construction of the IBR. And last but not least, incentivize carbon neutral development via LEED standards and greener thinking in the bridge impact area.
Great, thank you. Thank you. How about from the next group? Barbie, could you speak for our group? Oh,
Yeah.
Vicki.
Oh,
No,
Vicki,
Okay.
go ahead.
no, I was in Greg's group.
Okay, I'll go ahead and step in. So I'd like to share a statement that it really encompasses a lot of the thoughts that came up in our breakout. We would like to envision an economically thriving and sustainably safe, diverse community that supports the wellness of its members and inspires community cohesion and celebration. A community that's accessible, thriving, vibrant, and considers the perspectives of how our grandchildren will view our decisions. And if there can be one takeaway, at least for me, that I'd like to see in the new year, I would like a specific call out at every meeting around the elements for workforce development and developing that infrastructure in a real operationally tangible way. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. So did we have two groups or did we have three?
I think we might have had three. I'm wondering if
Three.
if someone from my group want to chime in here and report out. We'll just sit in awkward silence until someone agrees to.
Or you could appoint someone, volunteer.
Aiden, I'm volunteering you, Aiden. Aiden might have stepped away. I'll do the report out. So our group talked a lot just in terms of a couple of things, making sure that we had return access to nature, that it's so critical that, you know, we connect folks back to the river if that was a possibility throughout the course of the design, that we improve bike as well as pedestrian access and improvements, and that we were considering that for all, including persons with disabilities, to really ensure that not just a bridge, but all the infrastructure associated with the bridge was really accessible. That was something that was talked a fair amount about, as well as really ensuring that the bridge becomes a way by which we connect communities. For a lot in our region, the bridge is sort of a barrier. And our group talked a lot about how the bridge and the symbol of the new bridge can be an opportunity of connecting communities. And some of that will be improved as a result of the high capacity transit, for example. So those were some elements that were mentioned.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So I think we are going to move now to public comment. Do we have any people lined up for public comment?
None at this time.
Not this time. Okay, great. Great. Excuse me. I'm going to read the instructions related to public comment, and then we can actually come back and spend a little bit more time. If we don't have anyone, we'll come back to Emily and kind of wrap up where we were. So our comment instructions through Zoom, please use the link located in the meeting description on the YouTube meeting page or on the IBR EAG meeting webpage. Commentators will be allowed to turn on their webcams, but will not be allowed to share their screens and will be removed from the room once the public comment period concludes. By phone, dial 253-215-8782, meeting ID 986-0940-5983, passcode 701376, dial *9 to raise your hand, dial *6 to unmute yourself. The facilitator will call on participants to provide comment. Please provide your name and affiliation, and commentators will be given 2 minutes to speak. Next slide. To submit comments after the meeting, fill out the comment form on the program website or email your comments to info@interstatebridge.org with EAG Public Comment in the subject line. Call 888-503-6735 and state EAG Public Comment in your message. All written comments must be received prior to 48 hours in advance of each upcoming meeting in order to be distributed to advisory group members. Comments received after that point will be distributed to members in advance of their next meeting. All right. So we have our meeting evaluation, and Emily, there you are. Thinking about, you've done this with the CAG, with the Community Advisory Group, and you've done this with the Equity Advisory Group. What is something that you are, and Yamaya, what is something that you all are gleaning from the two groups?
That's a really, really great question. I think that some of the ones that I definitely hear consistently across, the Community Benefits Advisory Group, as well as this group, is the pieces around making sure that folks still feel connected together as a community, that they feel connected to nature, and that that's reflected somehow in the design and the natural elements, also the cultural piece. And then definitely a lot of emphasis around workforce and economic development and what that looks like, how we can bring those opportunities to folks, particularly in our equity priority communities, and how we can build, develop a pipeline really for long-term wealth for these communities. So these are big themes that we've seen across the board And I get excited when I hear some of these other ideas, like using alternative materials or natural elements, and like that perks up my ear because I heard that with CVAG. So it's just really cool to hear similar thought lines come from these different groups.
Great. Great. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So 2 takeaways from our time together. So 2 takeaways from this evening. 1, a really comprehensive history lesson. Thank you. Thank you, Greg. And you know, I think it's exciting that that history is, 1, being told as we're doing this work, and 2, will be shared as this project becomes real.
Well, thank you, Dr. Hunt. And I do apologize because I can become long-winded when I'm talking about something that I'm passionate about, but did not mean to steal time from the group, but we need to be rooted in history as we move forward.
Very much. Thank you. Thank you. All right, 1 more takeaway. Yeah, Emily.
Yeah, I don't know if it's as much of a takeaway, but just a reminder, I wanted to highlight just the great work again that this group has done, and the work that was done with the equity framework and the principles that just continues to be a guidepost for us. And as someone who's been involved in how we're thinking through the community benefits development, I know that it's been the way that like we have been really trying to think about how do we develop these benefits? How do we categorize them? And all of that's rooted in the equity framework and the work that this group did. So I just really want to like give you all that recognition and appreciation for all the great work this group does.
Thank you.
I wanted to say I am amazed at how well the committees represent both Oregon and Washington. I'm not sure I was not involved last time around, but I think that adds so much. We always see it as not a region, but 2 states with a big river in between. And I think the planners and the Jonelle and Greg and the people involved from the agency level have worked really hard to put aside their kind of territory in order to work together.
Very much. Very much. All right. So if we can have that last slide, we to give us our prep for our next meeting. So please post the meeting evaluation, our poll, and our next meeting will be January 15th from 5:30 to 7:30. Thank you, everyone. Happy solstice, happy holidays, into the new year, and stay warm and healthy. May you be warm and healthy.
Everyone, have a great holiday and Happy New Year.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Ciao, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.